are doing this incredible.
Well, there's a myriad of things. I think, first of all, we have to go back to the writer. You are very well known for your teaching skills. Your students speak a whole lot about you. Miss Nigeria competition.
I said, you know, let's pick them up, let's take them back to Nigeria, and let's teach them a different kind of job.
The list of what women can do and be is obviously endless, from being mothers, from being wives, from being entrepreneurs, from being sisters, from being friends, mentors, all of it put together. You can't begin to enumerate them. Well, that is why we have this platform, The Woman, to showcase women who are doing, you know, very regular things but very daring manner. Today I had decided to take a trip all the way to Nairobi, Kenya, to bring in a sister who is doing something really great. You know, not just for people in Kenya, not just for people in Nairobi. Incidentally, she also has a strength here in Nigeria. I'll tell you how that came to be when we introduce her, but that will be after this time out. I don't think in gender boxes at all. I just get on with it.
A man that would dare to ask the wife, who do you think you are? That is a real man.
In fact, our husbands are our firstborns. The husband needs more attention than even the children.
It's not only about work, it's not only about family. They need to take the time to look after themselves, and we don't do that.
They took my money, I paid every fees. I never asked to be hoisted as a governor. I wanted to be allowed to go out there and contest for the position of governorship candidate first.
There's nothing greater than looking back and seeing that while you were aspiring, you were able to inspire others.
Power to women.
Yes,
we need to have more women, more multitaskers around Nigeria to get Nigeria working.
Definitely. All right, join me as I welcome Nana Wanjua. I hope I got that right.
Wanjua.
Okay,
yes.
Okay. Somebody tried to teach me how to greet in Kenya language. I forgot. But
just say jumbo.
I can say jumbo. But that's for strangers. I'm not a stranger.
No, that's for tourists. So you can say habari.
Habari. That's the word I was looking for.
And I will say mzuri.
No, in my place, there's something we call waziri. Is that a corrupt form of saying waziri?
No. Waziri and mzuri are two different things.
Okay.
So, habari mzuri.
Habari mzuri. That actually goes to tell me that there is a link between all languages. You know, waziri, waziri, habari, all of them put together. Well, nice to have you in Nigeria.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
All right. I really don't know where to begin from you, but you have this exceptional package for women. You know, it comes from deep within. I'd like to know, what about women? You know, it brings out that strength in you to work for women, especially the less privileged ones.
Thank you. I don't know if I'm exceptional. I believe that women, we are a package. We have just not been aware of the capacity and the ability that is innate and lies within us. We've not owned our own power. We don't even know it exists. But that's a story for another day. All women were exceptional. The fact that we are able to give birth to life and nurture and bring up a whole human being, boy or girl, it doesn't matter. We're the ones who create the world. What is all that? That's power.
Exactly.
So I think all women are exceptional, and I'm just one of those women.
But a lot of us who rarely can get up and pick up, you know, the shattered pieces and decide to put it together. But you're doing exactly that, especially your outreach for the widows. Talk to us about it.
I was raised by a widow.
Oh.
Yes, by my grandmother. And I remember one night we are asleep. My grandmother, by the way, is from a small village called Bukoba by Lake Victoria on the Tanzanian side.
So you also have a bit of Tanzania.
Yes, yes. One night after my grandpa passed on, we woke up to the thunderous sound of banana plantations falling. people had come and they were cutting down our banana trees. Why go away? My grandmother was a widow, and simply as such, she was no longer needed or required. Her presence was no longer a need, and they wanted her and whoever was with her to leave. So we feared for our lives, and we started relocating. So even at an early age, I had already experienced the trauma through my grandmother of a woman losing her husband. And I grew up with that in me, you know, that question mark, why? So long story short, I'm very big on community work, and I really wanted to help the widows, specifically because where I stand right now, I'm truly and honestly privileged by all means. But women, our identity is still tied heavily to a man. That once your loved one, the man, is, deceases, you almost cease to exist in the eyes of the community.
Sure.
And this happens whether the woman is rich, educated, exposed. Her status changes.
Sure.
Now, add on poverty, this woman who's poor, add on illiteracy, add on cultures that dehumanize women to this widow. She does not exist in the eyes of community. Hence the dehumanizing cultural practices that these widows face after the demise of their husbands. So Power Woman International is about women empowerment, and we empower women across the board, from the top to the bottom. Mm-hmm. But really my heart and really what we are really about is to socially and economically advance this woman. And we work with ostracized widows, specifically because that's a whole different category of a widow. An ostracized widow is a widow who's been rejected and ejected by her people. Most people ask me why. Sometimes it's as simple as I said, as we no longer need you.
Was that because your grandma was, ostracized, so to speak? That's why you're chasing those ones more?
Yes, I experienced firsthand the rejection and ostracization. So those are the ones we look for, because when you're ostracized as a widow, it means that woman no longer has the protection of her family, her in-laws, but also she no longer has the protection of the community. Without that, she's vulnerable and exposed. Sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse. If she has daughters, the mother and the daughters, they carry the same omen of ostracization. Those are the women we really want to rescue, because I can't imagine what else could go wrong at that level. You're already at the bottom. Yeah.
All right. Now, I'd like to really ask, while you were telling the story, I was actually thinking real deep, because I thought plights of widows were mostly just around this vicinity, but it's surprising. It also cuts across the African countries. But I'm trying to find out, how do you provide succor to this woman? What exactly do you do? Do you empower them? And then do you get to, monitor the empowerment if it's yielding fruits?
I'll answer your question in two phases. One, you said you thought that this was just, that happens to widows in this part of the world. Yes. But when I started doing this work, the Estonian parliament asked for me to send data and, videos of what we are doing on the ground with the widows, because they wanted to showcase in the Estonian parliament what Kenya is doing for the widows, so that they could probably learn and adopt for their own people. So I was surprised that Estonia was asking for our works to implement and teach in their programs. So it happens across the board, maybe in different intensities, different cultures, but a woman's status changes immediately her spouse deceased. How do we help these women? We have 4 pillars. Because the ostracized widow, by nature of being ostracized, she has no shelter, no community protection. So our first pillar is shelter. Even if I want to empower and train this woman, I can't empower her in a carton box house in the bush. The first thing is to put her under some kind of security, some environment that is decent as part of the process of beginning to restore dignity. And we also deliberately target widows with young children. I'll explain that later. So shelter is our number one pillar. Counseling is our second pillar. We call it empowerment. I know we talk about empowerment, which is really skills and techniques and so on, but there's something called empowerment. Empowerment is empowering the woman from inside, and it starts by healing. These women go through traumatic experiences. She's already lost her husband, but what follows that leads to ostracization is extremely traumatic. The woman has to heal because she has children to raise, she has a life to live, and guess what? As a woman, she's 50% of the economic empowerment program of any country. If you empower this woman, she becomes a contributor.
Definitely.
The third pillar is now economic empowerment, which is empowerment. We train the widows through different partnerships on skills. We look at their environment. What can they do? What can they learn? Whom can we partner them with so that after we leave, this woman is able to generate for her family? The last pillar is education, which is, for me, the most important pillar because in the long term, that's where our impact is. It is through education of these children from the widows that was ostracized. Through education, through exposure, they will be the ones to come back in their communities, in their motherland, and say no to cultures that dehumanized their mothers, their sisters, their own daughters.
Beautiful.
That's where we are hoping the impact and will change the narrative through the education of the children.
And that's actually creating a change that will last, with time. Thank you very much. We will be continuing with this discussion, and my personality, who is seated with me, though we are talking something quite gloomy, has the sunny side of her. We'll get to look at that, but that will be after this time out. Don't go away.
I don't think in gender boxes at all. I just get on with it.
A man that would dare to ask the wife, who do you think you are? That is a real man.
In fact, our husbands are our firstborns. The husband needs more attention than even the children.
It's not only about work, it's not only about family. They need to take the time to look after themselves, and we don't. We don't do that.
They took my money. I paid every fees. I never asked to be hoisted as a governor. I wanted to be allowed to go out there and contest for the position of governorship candidate first.
There's nothing greater than looking back and seeing that while you were aspiring, you were able to inspire others.
Empower to women. Yes. We need to have more women, more multitaskers around Nigeria to get Nigeria working.
Definitely. We've been talking so much about your Power Women International and what you're doing with it. But I also know that you're the chairman of the Commonwealth Businesswomen, right? So how does that affect the Power Women International?
As you can hear, common trend there is women. Commonwealth Businesswomen Kenyan chapter, we are currently in formation. We've just received the authority to use the word Commonwealth for Kenya. So the registration process has already begun. I'm the chair, our founding chair passed on, so I'm now stepping in. It's such an honor because the Commonwealth is creating a platform specifically for women to trade across the Commonwealth borders.
It's not restricted to Kenyans alone.
No, it's the entire Commonwealth.
Okay, so I can actually...
In fact, I might as well say that while I'm in Abuja and I'm now going to Lagos, I am intending to meet the Commonwealth Business Women Nigerian chapter chair.
Okay.
And the idea is to really brainstorm on how we can enhance business women to trade in the Commonwealth platform. Because there are many, many privileges that have been given to women to encourage them to cross-trade in the Commonwealth countries. So you will be hearing a lot about the Commonwealth business women, and you will join us, I'm sure.
Oh, definitely. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned Abuja. I know you're here on a particular, instance.
Yes.
And I see you carrying a book by a
Yes.
writer that I appreciate so much. Talk to me
Yes.
about your mission in Abuja.
I belong to a book club called the Carpe Diem, Seize the Moment. We believe in living every moment fully. We've been reading together for the past 18 years.
13 years?
Yes.
Wow.
Our children are, avid readers because of that. In the recent years, we've been very much interested in African authors. So this month, we picked to read the book by a Nigerian author called Osi Obu.
Osi Obu.
Obu. Did I pronounce it?
You tried. I give you 40%.
It says, the moon also sets. Now, reading the book is just part of the book club. We go further and travel to the land of the author to meet the author and discuss the book with him.
Beautiful.
So this evening, we are meeting Osi Obu.
Okay, that's lovely. Now, you're also a writer. I know you had this book, something about mountain and climbing, and I intend to read it.
Well, yes.
I saw it on the internet.
Yes.
So, but talking about that book, did it come from your experience climbing the mountain? I know you took a delegation to the mountain.
Mount Kilimanjaro.
Kilimanjaro. Did you really get to the top?
Twice in 1 year.
Oh my God. I thought I was
I
adventurous.
climbed the Kilimanjaro twice in 1 year.
And you didn't faint?
No, I didn't faint. I transformed.
How?
I transformed.
How?
I was president of Rotary, past president Rotary Nairobi East, and in my capacity as president, these were our fundraising initiatives. The first time I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, I had obviously no clue what to expect. Had flown in from a holiday straight into the Kilimanjaro bus, started climbing the same night. 4 days later, we are on top of Kilimanjaro.
You were climbing mountain for 4 days?
Yes, Mount Kilimanjaro.
4 days, like you 1, 2, 3.
It is 4 days of no bathing.
You didn't have a bath?
You didn't have a bath for 4 days. You have a cup of water every morning to clean every vital part of your body that you feel.
For 4 days?
For 4 days.
Jeez.
And then I did it later in the same year for the same reason.
You
but
were not
I was
daunted
ready.
After 4 days of no bath, you still went back again.
Still went back.
Baby, you got guts. You have some guts.
That's why I said I transformed. You know, I learned that in life, it's not what life hands at you. It's how you handle it, how you manage it. The book I'm writing is called Don't Carry the Mountain, Climb It. We are in the habit of carrying burdens and baggage that are unnecessary in life. Once you face a mountain, don't put it on your shoulder. Go around it, go over it, climb it. Use it to your advantage. Leverage on that mountain. Learn from it. That's why I went back the second time. I had learned lessons that I didn't know the first time I climbed that Kilimanjaro. But the second time I climbed it, I climbed that mountain. The first time I almost carried it on my back. But the second time I climbed it, and the difference was huge. I've noticed that in life. Face a mountain and recognize, yes, it's a mountain. I don't need to carry it.
You have to
I have to climb it and find means
I know
and
you
ways.
actually raised money doing that thing. What did you do with that money?
Oh, as Rotarians, we have various projects on health, water and sanitation, education. Polio is our #1 global project. So all the money we raise across the board, 20% must go to polio. But we are constantly raising funds in order to meet our community needs. And it comes in various forms. It's just as presidency, I wanted to climb the mountain.
I was going to join you, but I'm thinking twice. When you want to climb, my phone will go on silent because if you call me, I'm not going to answer.
I have a feeling if you dared climbed once, you'd go back.
Twice a year, right?
Yes.
4 days without a bath.
Yes.
I can take a breath. All right. I know that one thing you carry well, and you not only climb it, you walk around it, is the family and its values. You have 2 lovely boys, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
now how do you find time to, live up to your family obligations?
I think for me that was the easiest part because when we got married, my husband and I, Mr. Wanjua, whose name I proudly carry. Wanjua. I told him, once we have children, I want to stay home. These high-flying jobs, I don't want to leave my children. And I was very clear, for a decade, I just want to focus on my children. I did it for 13 years.
13 years?
Yes. I am so glad that I had the insights earlier on that I only had a short window that I could influence the lives of my children. I could influence their values, the culture, who we are as a people. But I wanted to be there. I didn't want to miss these formative years of my children. And now my oldest is turning 18. He's going to college. The younger one is 14. They're literally out of the house. At this point, what can I do? They're leaving my house. But I'm so glad that I took the time to look after my children. While I was, that decade I was home, I started a real estate company. I needed to do something.
So you weren't really idle?
No. Well, when you have children, you're not idle at all. But I wanted to do more. And I was telling a friend of mine this morning that we should always aim at expanding our plate. Once you can do this well, add on to something. We women especially can manage a lot of things. Expand your plate constantly until to a point where you now want to downsize into retirement and into mellowing into sunrise and sunset. But before that, while you were young, keep expanding your plate. So I started a real estate company. Now, 17 years later, actually 18 years later, we are in residential, we are in office space, we are in hotel residentials as well. So whenever you're in Nairobi and you need office and you need residential, look for me.
That one I'll definitely do.
Yeah.
I'll definitely do.
So I've managed to, I've put in the time with the boys. Now the boys are in boarding school. There's no child at home. Now I'm able to travel and talk about what I'm really passionate about, which is women and the girl child.
Beautiful,
yeah.
Beautiful. Now, you have done all that. Like you said, I quite agree with you completely that when you're raising children, there's no moment, there's no dull moment. They're very inquisitive, they're very energetic. But how do you find time to relax? And what do you do when you're relaxing, beyond just writing?
Because I speak to a lot of young women and they're always concerned about health. How do we get babies and still remain nice and, you know. And one thing that I guarantee you is rest. We must rest. Even as I say, expand your plate. Personally, I do 7 hours of sleep.
Daily?
I try to daily. I really try. But I'm very conscious about it. I used to do 4, I used to do 5. I'm out of that. I do now 7 to 8.
It's beautiful.
Why? Because this is the only body I have to do everything that I need to do in this world.
And for crying out, you have another 16 hours to get it done.
Thank you. So if I cannot get the other 16 hours to do what I need to do, I need to look and re-strategize. What am I holding on that somebody else should be doing? Remember, I said, don't carry the mountain. Just climb it. Do what you need to do. The rest, let other people do.
Beautiful.
Delegate.
Beautiful.
Sleep. Rest. Drink lots of water. And I dance a lot.
You dance? Have you tried Nigerian dance?
I'm yet to go dancing, but I intend to before I go back.
No, there's the one we call shako. Shako, make sure you learn it.
Okay.
You know how to do it?
No.
It's done like this. Just put your hand this way, this way, this way. Then if the telephone call thing, then draw it. That's it.
Are you going to take me? I need a teacher.
Don't worry, we'll get you one. Thank you so much for coming on the show. All right, wonderful. And when you go back, I know you're very comfy with Nigeria. You went to business school here in Lagos.
Yes, and I love the jollof rice.
You like jollof rice?
Yes.
Okay, try the pepper soup with it too.
I had pepper soup today, fish pepper soup.
Fish?
Yes.
Was there enough pepper?
Oh, it was a lot.
Okay. All right. It's been The Woman, and I've been having this lovely chat with my Nairobi, Kenyan sister who is doing wonderful thing, Nana Wanjua. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shout out to Mr. Wanjua. Beautiful wife. Bye.